I'm asking council.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
think
it
that...
may.
It may.
Yeah, well,
Can I mean, I know that we asked for reports, and I read the
And I-
3, and I know, Councilman
if you're going to
Cartier.
pass it tonight, why even ask for the report?
Exactly.
Just
And
asking a
I
question.
apologize to the towers. I mean,
Right, that was gonna
this
be
is
my
no
third
fault of
statement.
theirs. It's departmental. However, the ordinance is in place for a reason, and that requirement within the ordinance is there for a reason.
When did we ask?
Last council meeting.
April 8th.
Well, that was... Well, the request was sent out April 8th, but the
April
council
8th.
meeting was Wednesday, right before that. April 2nd.
But today's April 20th. Neither here nor there. We didn't
April
get what we
20th.
asked for. So I don't know how the council feels. I think we should do what is suggested of us and ask the chief to come to the meeting. And well, let me see this.
Yeah.
Was it the chief that provided the report or his lieutenant?
This was the
Lieutenant.
You can only ask through the
who was
chief.
probably
We can
the...
only ask.
No, the lieutenant doesn't communicate with us directly. The chief provided the lieutenant's letters in response to the request that we conveyed to the chief from council.
Got it.
So that's the first question, who completed the report? So it would have been...
Well, I don't...
Probably
that,
the
that
lieutenant.
doesn't say this here. That's not what's said.
Yeah, you're assuming.
I doubt the lieutenant went out to the site.
No, it's possible.
No, maybe, I don't know.
Again, we're assuming. You don't know.
I mean,
I gave my
he could have
position.
taken that lieutenant could have taken, and again, it's all assumption here, could have taken that report from one of the officers and created this certification, for lack of a better word.
So it sounds like we want specifics from a checklist. Because that's what that's what it would have been. If an officer went out, based on the questions that we're asking, hopefully there's some sort of checklist as to, what was seen, the date, things of that nature.
And not just an X on a piece of paper.
Can I just lay out the other side of this?
Sure.
So the report says, although it's not in any way detailed, and it's conclusory. I would agree with that. It says the applicant has satisfied the requirements set forth in Chapter 170. It doesn't say what they saw, how many of this, how many of that. But it does reach the conclusion it met the requirements of the ordinance.
At what time?
I wouldn't know that, Ken.
Exactly.
Well, I know that, but I'm just pointing out the other side. That's all.
No.
All right, so what do we do now? I already gave my point, what I think should happen.
I think the chief should be invited to the next meeting.
So we have to take a vote or something?
A consensus. You don't need to vote.
Consensus, excuse me.
Yeah, you don't need to make a formal.
He-
This,
Can
can
we-
we allow...
Well,
Are
you
you
can-
one of the towers?
He's,
Or-
Yeah,
he's on the list.
Rich, right?
We got to stop. You can't talk yet. No offense. The council would have to.
Oh, I know, I saw you raising your hand,
No.
getting their
The
attention.
council would have to open up the meeting to allow you to talk. It's not.
I just want to give you a brief
It's
insight of what
real
happened.
fast. Is council okay with the gentleman coming forward to providing some
Yeah.
insight?
Yeah.
Done it before.
All right, go ahead. I didn't mean to be. I was just.
That's fine.
There's just a process here.
That's
that's
fine. Joseph Elmendorf for Ridge Auto in Pemberton Township. I was there and I dealt with, actually 2 officers came out. They inspected each truck, checked the GVW. There's a checklist on the original application, all items. The police officers and the lieutenant, the 2 of them, went through each truck, checked if it had this, that, and went down the checklist. I mean, I don't know what the council's looking for.
No offense.
Yes.
Okay. But the police officers represent the township. You represent your interests.
Right.
Okay. How do I know? I'm not calling you a liar, but by all means, whatever you say, I believe actually happens. However, that won't hold up in a court of law. All right. You're going to go in for your side. Andy's going to go in for our side.
Well, I'm
You follow
sure
what I'm
Andy
saying?
could come and come up here.
No, not Andy. Andy.
Oh, this one. I'm talking this one. No, I'm very,
That's about all Andy Mullen I have.
Chief of police sent out a lieutenant, okay? The lieutenant did his job. What was asked of him by the police chief, correct?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
all right. Well, we were called, they went out and hit every shop that was actually on the list, actually put a bid in. So I don't know what you're actually looking for. They had a piece of paper, they took GVWs down, you know what I mean? I mean, you have all this in the package that was submitted on a bid.
No,
Titles
we
of
don't.
trucks?
No, we don't. No.
You
No,
don't?
we did not get a police report. We
No,
did
I'm
not
not
get
talking
it.
about police report.
Okay,
I'm
well, that's
talking
what we're,
bid.
I'm sorry,
I'm
but
talking
that's what we're looking
I'm
for.
talking to bid.
That's what we're looking
Okay.
for.
The administrator would have the bid.
No,
correct,
we
ma'am?
have the bids. We're
Okay.
looking for the reports from the police department.
Okay.
We do not have that. We have your word saying that they were there.
All right.
That's one thing.
Okay.
We don't have anything from the police department, except a piece of paper with a check mark on it.
No one signed it or dated it or anything like
Oh,
that, so
okay.
all we have
There's-
is, you could have filled out the form for all
Right,
we
right,
know,
right.
and
Not saying that you
forgive me.
did,
No,
yeah,
I hear
yeah.
But what I think what the council is looking for is something a little bit more detailed. That way we can say, Lieutenant Smith inspected this facility on June the 14th, 2012. And it's there, you know, instead of,
Well, you calling the police chief in, he wasn't physically there. So why don't you call the lieutenant in?
Can't. No, it can't.
because the chief runs the force and we cannot interfere with that.
But if the chief says that the lieutenant was there, what's the difference between the police chief saying it than me saying it, when I was there and witnessed it?
The police chief represents the township.
Okay, all right. And I know you had some questions for me.
Can I ask?
I don't think so.
No?
No, I don't, no.
You're representing what,
Ridge.
Ridge Auto? Yeah, if we could wait until we get to the next. I know they're speaking in general, but I'd rather, it's cleaner if we decide what we're gonna do
For the
for
next what?
83. The next resolution, which is 84.
Okay. That's us, all right.
So what is council requesting for these resolutions in whole?
Have a seat
I think
right
you're
there.
good.
So-
Sorry, if you don't mind.
Well, me personally, I'm not comfortable moving forward without something a little bit more substantial from the police department.
If I may, in addition to advising the chief that he should appear at the May 4th meeting, shall I also advise the chief that the council is looking for a more detailed description of all of the actions taken by the officers in inspecting the 3 locations?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what was,
Exactly what was asked.
that's what was requested initially.
Well, all I can tell you is that it was forwarded to the chief. How he interpreted it, I don't know. But I will restructure the request and add some more specific instruction for the chief as requested by council.
Thank you.
You know, the way I look at this, Ken, and I understand what's going on with this, I really do, but I think they were following an established, last contract was the very first contract, so there were some things that were just whipped together, is what I'm assuming.
I don't think it was whipped together,
Well-
because I was involved in that, and we've had some pretty lengthy discussions about it.
So, but anyhow, I'm thinking this form might have been one of the ones that they used in the last process that could have been tweaked a little bit better probably, but they reused it. I think if we put guidance forth saying that they need to put certain things in place, I mean, we have the towers here today, or at least 2 of them, saying that they were duly inspected and verified by a representative of the police department. I don't know why we should hold it up any further, to be honest. That's my personal thought.
And I understand, and again, they represent their interests. Their interests are to get to work, correct?
Well, yeah, this is
Okay.
a long process.
Okay. We got to look out for the township's interests.
Okay. You had a question? I'm sorry.
So it sounds like council would like to see the actual checklist.
Right, which I think Dennis already said he was going to contact the chief and get.
Before we move forward with...
Give a detailed report.
I think we need a revised checklist that's more reflective of what we're looking for, whoever actually did the inspection, date, time.
Right, the same questions that
Right.
were asked
Right.
on April 8th. All right, I think we're good with that. Am I correct?
So it sounds like you want to carry the resolution.
Yeah. So,
Well, Jack had questions.
Well, can I just say something, Mayor?
sure.
From what was asked, which was who completed the report, when the report was completed, what the findings were for each facility, and we're looking at narratives. So I think what was composed was from who did it, which the lieutenant, and each towing company. And from reading, I know it's not what Ken was saying, but according to what the lieutenant looked at, were completed in accordance with Pemberton Township's ordinance establishing regulations for fair and safe towing operation. The applicant has satisfied the requirements set forth in Chapter 170. As a result, it is my recommendation, and they name it be allowed. So from what you read, it seems like they went forth, and that's how I interpret it. Others may interpret it, but I feel it's sufficient, but...
So did I, Norm. I thought it was good, too.
I actually do also. I mean, I understand we want to see the checklist, but in reading the ordinance, there's certain sections of the ordinance, for instance, in 170-16, entitled Equipment. It talks about the equipment requirements and what the towers are either required to have or allowed to contract out, such as a heavy-duty wrecker or a medium-duty wrecker. Another section, 170-11, entitled Records, Inspection, Release of Vehicle. Section E says the service, equipment, and personnel of the tower are subject to inspection and approval by the township. The township reserves the right to have a qualified person or agency to make such inspections. 170-19, storage location, says land must meet all applicable municipal codes. Towers must provide access to the storage area to the police department as needed on a 24-hour-a-day basis. So, in my opinion, I think it was sufficient, but I think Ken is looking to actually see the checklist from who I'm assuming this is the lieutenant that went out, because each letter for each different resolution was submitted to Chief Jancis from the same person. So I'm assuming that was the lieutenant that conducted. Do you remember the person's name? The police officer that was out there?
I want to say
Wayman, and that's the person's name that are on this. So I understand what Ken is saying. I mean, he wants to. I think if there's like a photocopy of the application, so we could actually see he went out on June 17th. You know, it was raining or whatever the conditions were. That's what I think you're looking for.
I think, can I?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I think that Ken is looking, who did the report? He's asking 4 specific, easy, simple questions. Who completed it? When was it done? What was the findings, the narrative? I understand that they're saying, based off of the ordinance or whatever, the applicant has satisfied the requirements. All we're asking for is a more detailed list. I don't understand why it's so difficult to get us if they did the checklist, again, not saying you're wrong, then somebody should have it in their file with the information that we're asking for.
Which they
it
probably
should not be that difficult.
It probably isn't. They probably have that on file.
Well, then someone didn't read this correctly by just getting the information.
What he gave was just a general paragraph.
But that's not what that's not what Ken asked for.
If you read the ordinance, the areas that I just read,
right?
It's saying that he's saying he did that in accordance to our ordinance. And this gentleman just said that he was out there with a list. So that list is, I don't think it's that complicated. There probably is a list in the police department somewhere. We just haven't been provided.
But that's what I'm saying. I hear what you're saying, but the request is very clear. Requesting reports from the police department, providing the information below. We'll have to agree to disagree, and I don't want to hold you gentlemen up because I understand this is your business, but at the same time, you know, something else come like that, then we have people, well, the council's just agreeing for anything.
I don't think that's the case.
So either.
Yeah, I don't think we're just agreeing.
I don't think so either.
You know, I'm
He's
sure
gotta
there's
stay
no
out of it.
witness.
You can't.
I actually got a telephone call from our heavy-duty subcontractor.
You can't do that,
Pemberton
Jay.
Township
Jason.
Police, you know.
Sir, can you please come back since we opened it up for you to talk? If you could just.
I mean, The only way for me to find out what day he was there, I'd have to pull the photo.
But we don't want you to find out.
No, I mean,
Oh, okay.
This is an issue really between council and the police.
Right.
It's not really,
right,
it's not really,
right, but I mean,
it's not really you.
Lieutenant came out, he did his job, okay?
Thank
You
you
know.
for validating that,
So,
and thank
you know.
you for your input.
They just didn't do their job in the reporting
Well.
process. They didn't do
This is
their
not
jo-
you.
That's nothing to do with you.
Yeah, or Andy. Not you, Andy.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
So how would council like to move forward with the resolutions?
Let me ask
Well,
you
it
some
sounds like
questions,
there's
Jason.
already three.
There's 3 of us that are
Already
happy with the
passed,
reports
yeah.
the way
We're
they
not,
are.
we're not, no, we're discussing it.
Well-
There's nothing guaranteed as there's already 3 votes. We don't know
No,
that.
I'm saying it appears that it sounds like 3 of us are happy with the report the
That's
way
what
it
I'm
is.
saying. Correct.
And 2 individuals are looking for more information. So maybe we ought to just do a vote to see if we want to go forward now and just bypass requesting more information.
Right.
Does
That's
that-
all I was saying.
Does that make sense?
That's what I was saying.
Or, the third alternative is move ahead on the resolutions, but still request the additional information.
Which is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So if there's a motion, then for 83-2016, then we can go through it that way. If not, it will just be tabled until the next meeting, and we still could request the copy of the application or the checklist from the officer that actually went to each of the facilities.
How about if we do this? I make a motion to approve 83-2016, authorizes a contract with Andy's Pro Auto Repair for provision of towing services in the township, tabled from 4/16/2016 meeting.
Is there a second?
I second.
Amy, please poll the council.
Well, I'm sorry,
You could have discussion if you want.
can I say? I just want to be that clear. I just want to make sure I'm not voting on something that I don't totally agree with. So what we're saying is we're going to vote for the resolution as is based off it being tabled last week, but not necessarily voting that we don't want more information from the police.
This
Is that correct?
This is just a vote on the resolution awarding a contract to Andy's.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with...
Correct. You can separately
Okay.
address the
All right.
request for information.
I just want to be clear. Sorry.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
My vote in no way reflects how I feel about the contract towards the providers, and it's no, due to the lack of information from the police department.
Ms. Jackson?
I still want more information from the police department. Are we going to vote differently on that? No. I agree with Ken, it's not against them.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Dave, can you have, or Amy, can we have the police department provide us with the actual checklist instead of just the paragraph?
I withdraw my request for Andy's Auto, seeing as how the contract's already approved.
I'm sorry?
I withdraw my request for that report for Andy's Auto, seeing as how you've already approved the contract.
Somebody else could make it if they're interested.
I'm interested in seeing it, so thank you.
It might be better if they do tweak the format. That way we don't run into this in the future.
Resolution number 84-2016. Jack, you mentioned...
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and I'm sorry. I read this late at night, and I saw something, and I highlighted it, and I sit here and I looked at it, and I said, you know what, Jack, that's right, that's not a problem. So I was looking at the Flynn's Towing, and it says, please be advised, Flynn's Towing Incorporated will handle Olive Ridge Auto Body and Repair Incorporated heavy-duty towing. And when I read it the first time, I thought it said all towing, and I was like, why are we awarding a contract that's to a subcontractor, basically? But after I read it again, there's a lot of contract. But the other section I do have a problem with, and I think once I explain it, you'll understand why I have the problem. and it is with a subsection of Flynn's. And it's a letter dated December the 3rd. Please accept this letter to confirm tow trucks have two-way radio capability and a bunch of other things. But then I flip it over, and it has Flynn's Towing, and it has a price schedule on it.
I think they submitted.
I'm sorry.
But
Can't do it.
But because
Sorry.
it has, because we have a ordinance in place that has specific pricing guidelines, this goes in complete contrast with what our ordinance is. So because of that, we either need to have this deleted from the application or deny it, is my
Well, the
thought.
contract would require, Jack, the contract with the township would require the tower to,
Sir, please don't.
to abide by our contract.
Okay.
So they can't, if there's some side issue between the tower and the sub, that's between them, but the people can only be charged, the customers can only be charged what the towing ordinance allows for, and that's by ordinance and contract. And if the tower violates that because the sub is wants to charge him more, he will be violating his agreement with us, and as Mr. Gonzalez has done, or administration has done in the past, be subject to discipline such as suspension or termination.
Okay.
So they would be doing that at their own risk.
My only problem with this, Andy, is, and again, I've said it for many, many, many professions in this room, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a retiree, thank goodness. But when I look at this,
Yeah.
we've agreed to it indirectly by agreeing to the contract. And I'm afraid that we could become...
I don't agree.
That's why he's a lawyer, and he...
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
And that's,
Know that you're not agreeing
and that's
to
why
that.
I said I had questions, and I'm not... I think you're going to understand where I'm coming from on this. I'm not trying to throw stones or nothing. But that's
Yeah.
my only
So
concern with this.
what's
Can I-
your
can I
final?
I don't have 84. Can I
It's
just-
right here. Here.
Yeah.
That's the
For some
full-
reason, it's not in my packet. I don't
Do you
know
want to
why.
see this too?
You want to take a look
Yeah,
at it?
that's that. Yeah.
Well, give me mine back so you don't
You
get
get
mixed
two?
in with yours.
There you go.
If I may, the contracts are identical and the ordinance is identical.
Yeah, I agree, Dick.
That's all that applies.
Yeah. I was just looking at the Flint submission. In any event, we're not contracting with Flint.
Okay.
We're contracting with Ridge Auto Body.
Okay.
And Ridge Auto Body will be bound by our contract and by our ordinance.
Okay.
And they
But
would be proceeding at their own risk. They would not have this, Ridge would not have this contract too long if they were charging in violation of our ordinance.
And as an elected official, I thought it was my responsibility to ask the question.
Good catch. I'm not critical of asking.
I'm good. And I'll make a motion. Excuse me?
Sir, please. No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You should sit back there so you won't be so tempted to ask a question.
It's hard,
But it's
isn't it?
hard.
You know what a judge once said to me? I was in the middle of a trial,
Sir.
and I was winning, and the judge said to me, Mr. Bear, you need to learn when to sit down. I was talking too much.
I was going to make a
They'll
motion.
tell you, that's why I didn't come to council meetings after I left the council last time, because I would sit in the back and I would run my mouth back there the whole time, so.
I used to do that before I got elected.
Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 84, 2016, approving a contract for towing with Ridge Auto.
I second the motion to approve 84, 2016, authorizing a contract with Rich Auto.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Cordier?
No.
Ms. Jackson?
No, for the same reasons.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. President, can I ask for some legal advice before we move forward? Sorry.
Yeah.
Andy,
Yeah.
on the next contract,
Yes.
I don't think it's going to be an issue with me voting, but I want to make sure that it's not an issue.
Okay.
Craig's is usually the exclusive auto repair facility that I go to. There's not going to be a conflict there if I do business there and I vote on that. I just want to make sure.
As long as you feel you could be impartial in your decision. There's nothing in the local government ethics law that would...
Okay, it's better to ask a stupid question than
You're a
not.
customer? You pay?
Yeah, through the nose.
If you were getting free service or something like that, I would say that could be a problem. But if you're just a paying customer, that's like saying you go to... Yeah, it's not...
Okay.
It's not
I just wanted, like I said, it's better safe to ask a question than
Yep.
not.
Council, is there any more discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve 85-2016 with Craig's Auto for towing.
I second the motion for 85-2016, authorizing a contract with Craig's Auto.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
No.
Ms. Jackson?
No, again, same reasons.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Ordinance number 6-2016, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition by gift of the property designated as Block 182, Lot 15, on the official tax map of the Township of Pemberton, County of Burlington, New Jersey. This portion of the meeting is now open to the public. This portion of the meeting is now closed to the public. Council, is there any discussion?
Yes, Andy, there's a sentence in here in the now therefore
Yes.
paragraph. It says, and to, this last line, and to take all other actions required to ensure that the township...
Yeah.
Explain that, please. What other actions?
Probably none. I mean, it's just like we do did we do a title search, Dennis, on this yet? I don't think so, right? Did you? I don't think we did. You guys did?
This is a tiny, non-developable piece of property that ultimately we'd have to foreclose on if it wasn't in an estate. And usually that language is just a catch-all in case something other than just signing the deed is necessary.
Yeah. In this case, though, there would be most likely none.
Okay, but what other action could there be?
Well, for instance, if we really wanted the property, and this is a gift or a donation, but if we really wanted the property and then we did, the title search came back and there was unclear title, or we had to file an action to clear title because there was such a it could be, I think mostly it would be related to title issues, if anything, myself, but I don't think we have that here. I think as Dennis points out, I think we took this from other ordinance, like land acquisition ordinances we've done before, so it's sort of the stock language.
So in other words, if there was even the slightest pushback from anybody saying title, okay, take the property, start paying taxes, in other words, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
No.
Is there a motion?
I move to adopt ordinance number 6-2016.
A second.
Amy?
Mr. Cartier?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Ordinance number 7-2016, an ordinance of the Township of Pemberton authorizing the township to convey a deed of a bridge maintenance easement and deed of road widening easement to the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Burlington for the property designated on the tax map of Pemberton Township as Block 812, Lot 16.01. This portion of the meeting is now open to the public. This portion of the meeting is now closed to the public. Council, is there any discussion?
Nope.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 7-2016.
I second the motion for ordinance 7-2016.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. New business, 12B. The New Jersey State Firemen's Association membership applications for Casey L. Firth and Erica N. Warwick with the Pemberton Township Volunteer Fire Company. Is there a motion to approve the applications?
I motion to approve the applications for the New Jersey State Firemen's Association membership application for the two individuals, Firth and Warwick, with the Pemberton Township Fire Department, Volunteer Fire Department.
I'll second.
Amy?
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
Abstain.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Unfinished business, discussion and possible introduction of amendments to the towing ordinance. At the last meeting, council, we had some increases to some of the fees. After the meeting, I was contacted by one of the towers who indicated that we might have unintentionally skipped over certain portions of the ordinance. The first was the lot and cleanup fee, and that tower had a recommendation of $35 for that. And the second was the lightweight winching for township vehicles, and that tower had a suggested increase from $75 to $95. So I just wanted to bring that to council's attention. And is there any other discussion?
Yes. I was all for this, and then Mr. Pelletier, I think it is, had made some comments last week, and I started thinking about it, which is a real scary thing sometimes. This ordinance was intended for towing of township vehicles, but it also comes into play if there's an accident and they have to tow personal vehicles.
It was mostly intended for the towing of non-township owned vehicles. The only thing, the towing of township vehicles came along as if the township's giving towers access to this sort of business, then we should get township tows as part of it. But that the primary purpose is the...
So what you're telling me then is we just approved three towers. So those are the only certified, authorized people to tow within this township.
No, for...
Then it's not.
No.
Well, only for the head mayor.
Only for tows that are requested by the township. When our police officers request a tow, when it's requested by the township, we control that tow through this ordinance. When it's requested, if you're riding down the road and your car stops and you say, well, I'm going to call, so-and-so's towing, they can charge you whatever they want.
Okay. I'm looking at this, and first off, I think we're getting too involved with personal businesses, and I don't necessarily agree with that. The other thing is we set prices on this, and if we're doing that to protect our residents, that's fine, but we set a price. And what we should be doing is saying no more than this price instead of the price. Because then there's no negotiation or no... These folks are obligated by the ordinance to charge this amount of money. There's no wavering there. So that's why I think we need to put verbiage in there saying no more than this amount of money.
Council President, Andy, Dennis brings up a good point, and I didn't look at it this way, but, I'm kind of tending to agree with him unless I can see something different presented. The state regulates towing charges. It's for all towers in the state of New Jersey. We're enhancing basically that regulation that we're allowed to do by ordinance and setting rates here in the township. So that, I guess, would apply to all towers in the township for all tows, regardless of who calls it in. That is the rate for a tow company to work within Pemberton Township, established by ordinance.
My goodness, I hit on something correct, huh?
Yeah, it sounds like you might have been on something there, Jack.
Scary thought.
So that's what we're.
Well, I don't think that's what we intended
I
when we
don't know
initially
that
did
that was
the
the
ordinance,
intent,
Dave.
but I don't know that
Yeah.
that's not the case.
Well, I'm citing from our memo that we did for council, and the state law says a municipality may regulate by ordinance the removal of motor vehicles from private or public property by operators engaged in such practice. So it could be from public, or it could be from public or private. Now we got to look at your ordinance. Here, hold on.
And thinking of that, then the only way to do it the way we may have thought it was intended to do was to not have an ordinance in place and allow the state law to be in effect. And then if you're utilizing the township, by contract, to be a vendor and get the exclusive township tows, then the township would have to, if they chose to do so, regulate that by contract for that particular vendor. If we were looking to say we're going to regulate our tows, well, then we would only be able to do that by contract, and then not have an ordinance so that we're not regulating all tows, if that was the intent.
Sure.
And that's what I was trying to say.
Well, you can regulate
much
them.
into their
We can
business.
regulate.
No, we can regulate all tows in the township. We're not disputing it, and I'm not disputing that. What I was saying was I didn't think that was the intent. I thought the ordinance was intended to specifically relate to the contract only. The contract towers, and anyone outside that the ordinance didn't apply to, but that's not what the ordinance actually does. The ordinance actually regulates all towing in the township, which is allowable under state law for a town to do by ordinance.
Well, my suggestion would be, Andy, that you look at that and correct that problem before we introduce the new ordinance.
Dave, if you look at the definition of a disabled vehicle, it talks about a vehicle located on or along a public right-of-way. I think the distinction is we don't want to regulate towing on private property, right? I think.
I've written towing ordinances in multiple municipalities, and from my perspective, it was always intended to regulate towing, period.
Oh, you're saying everything.
Towing, period. I think you end up with a problem if you establish rates for one particular type of towing as opposed to another type of towing. Ultimately, I believe the state law and regulations provides you either regulate towing fees or you don't. And if there's an accident and the owner of the vehicle says, I want to call Joe Schmo's towing for my vehicle, as long as Joe Schmo can get there within a reasonable period of time, they cannot be required to use the person on the towing list, period.
The definition of towing, again, going back to what we did before, talks about what they basically call towing activities from highways, streets, roads, public or private property. So you're right. I mean, I think so theoretically you are regulating towing on private property as well, not just police calls.
I agree with what Ken is saying. Maybe you should look into this a little bit more.
Yeah.
Before we go ahead and.
Well, I'd like to know as a matter of policy, what we want. We could write it.
Well, everybody here knows what the intention of this ordinance is for. It's to regulate the towing when the township calls for the towing, not for...
Private. Right.
Okay.
So if we do this, it's gonna, we're only talking about the 3 towers, and XYZ can do whatever they want.
Well, before that, I mean, let's go back to why this ordinance was adopted. I mean, this came, I think, from administration to begin with, but wasn't the idea that it was sort of like the Wild West
Well,
here.
the idea was that it was done illegally for decades.
Yeah, that there was, yeah, that it was sort of like, there was no, that's not a comment about the towers, it's a comment about just how it was regulated. So like there was a list that was like, there was
a list, there was no contract,
Right.
and you're
there was
required,
no regulation of rates.
there's no rates, no contract, no council authorization of contracts. This
No,
past time was
right.
the first time ever.
No requirements concerning the tow safety for the consumers.
Or protection of the consumers for exorbitant rates,
That,
yeah.
which is why this ordinance was originally.
And that's why I say on this, we've set a flat fee. We should put in there no more than. That way you still have a negotiation.
But why would the tower ever charge less than what the maximum allowed is?
Because I'm a nice guy and they might want to cut me a break.
Just saying.
You ask a question.
Only the tower that you go to exclusively.
Well, no, you know,
Now we have it.
you have a basic tow at $130, and that could be from one end of town to the other. But if you break down as a matter of fact, it happened to me a few years ago. I broke down 500 feet away from the garage. Would they want to charge me the whole rate, or would they want to subsidize it or cut it down because it's right there in their backyard, literally?
Would that be up to the tower?
Not according to the ordinance. We've already set the price. They're obligated by ordinance to charge me that full price.
Just let's hope you make it home.
My legs. Oh, never mind. That's why I made the I didn't just randomly throw that out there to see if it stuck. I was kind of thinking we might want to put no more than.
Council?
It's interesting to put it in there and see what actually gets charged.
We're here to protect the residents, correct? It's not going to hurt.
Absolutely, that's why we're here. Who would have thought this would be so much? Well, I thought we already said ask Andy to look into it. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
where we are, right?
Well, but if you want that as a change on the fees, that's up to you. So.
Is there anything illegal in that, Andy? Or against policy?
Nope. I
Okay.
don't think so.
Does that leave a contract open to administration to establish a limit on fees within the contract?
I don't know. Wow. You could argue that, Ken. Because then I don't know. I guess you could argue that. I don't know. Yes. Because they'd be administering the contract, and the contract provides a range.
Right.
But it would be no more than whatever that could give the administration the authority to impose a fee less than the
Established limit.
and as opposed to establishing. That could undermine your position, actually. Well, undermine.
Well, this is for the general public. For the township tows, it's a flat rate of $75, I think.
Yeah, I
if
wasn't
remember
talking
right.
about township though.
You're talking about public.
I was talking about
Public.
if the ordinance has your up to language, then it's up to the administration to enforce the contract. They could say something less than what the maximum is.
Up to $750 per tower's discretion.
Well, I'm talking about all these fees.
Well, but
I'm talking about like whatever the fees we've been discussing. If you put this language up to, then administration could say, okay, well I'm interpreting and enforcing the contract. So for for basic towing, it's not going to be $115. It's going to be $80 because that's what I think is fair.
And you undermine the
Yeah,
towers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be good for the public, but it may not be good for the towers.
For businesses.
Yep.
Andy, so I guess, what does council feel about the up to? I like I understand where Jack is coming from, but
I do
don't.
too, but there's You're leaving that loophole in there, I think.
Yeah,
I like loopholes.
big loophole.
Most Republicans do.
I mean, we already cut their prices, their requested price down at the last meeting.
I'm
believe.
fine with the set prices. I mean, you don't walk in, you don't go somewhere to acquire a service and look on the amount and it says up to, $60 up to. I mean, there's a set price for most things, so I'm fine with the set price.
So am I. I am.
Okay, whose phone's going?
But good thought, Jack. Now, Andy, as far as the regulation on all towing and not just those under contract, can you look into that?
I will.
Okay.
I will. And then I'll make it clearer one way or another. I mean, you could regulate it either way, I guess. But, well, maybe. I guess I gotta look at the law. I'll report back.
Okay. Thank you. The bill list, Jack.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't know we were moving off.
Oh, okay.
We raised all the established rates that the towers can.
I think that's the system, Ken. That's not a phone.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
System's older than 5 years, we need to replace it.
Thank you, Jack.
Actually, the system's probably closer to 15 years.
Whoa.
We've raised all the established rates at the towers.
And how long have you been?
Too long.
Yeah, it's getting
Go ahead,
close
Jack.
to 9, isn't it?
Go ahead, Jack.
We've raised all the established rates at the towers. Well, we accepted raising the established rates. We haven't done so yet. What about the annual yearly fee that we charge to the towers?
Yeah, Ken raised that before we stepped out here. You could, was there, I mean, that's in the ordinance as well. They pay $300, I believe. So, right, Dennis?
Currently,
Yes, I think
annual $300.
It's $300 basically to cover the costs, so the cost of, inspections, oversight, that sort of thing.
Right, I think Ken was suggesting raising that given the rates were being...
I defer to council on that issue.
10,000?
Up to?
No. Sorry, I didn't mean to give you guys a heart attack back there.
Ken, what,
400. Make a suggestion, Jack.
I like 300. I mean, we're getting free tows out of this supposedly. 300 is fine.
Who's getting free tows?
Township is.
4 free tows.
That's still 4 free tows. And then we increase the price, so that increases the amount that we're getting.
I think Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, again, assumption. I think you're looking at it at a standpoint of when we were raising the fees or when they were requesting to raise the fees and we were going in the middle to do the same thing all the way around. Am I correct?
Yes.
So go in the middle, 350?
fine with 350.
Stop with that pen.
You're going to get smacked with that pen one of these days.
But if this is a township ordinance, then we're going to penalize 3 contractors and charge them a $300 filing fee or whatever you want to call it. And then XYZ towing still falls under the ordinance. They're still towing and everything else, but they're not paying that $300.
But they don't get the exclusive right to tow for the township.
They're getting a monopoly on the all tows related to...
For that week that they're working.
Yeah.
300, 400, does it really make a big difference in the big scheme of things? I'm easygoing, whatever you want to do.
No,
Jack,
that
you're
is
the
not
same
government.
one that had an issue with that TV.
Right.
That was thousands
Thank
of
you,
dollars.
Jason.
Council, I can make a suggestion. Instead of increasing the 300 to 400, just, what do we get, 4 free tows? Increase that to 5 free tows, and that may or may not happen.
That sounds good, too.
Either way, there's a slight benefit to the township. So I mean,
Annual, that free tow clause, that's annually, right?
Yes,
That's annually?
yes.
Yeah, I believe it's, whatever, I forget what the ordinance says, 3 or 4 free tows annually. So you increase that by one, and they may get charged with that, they may not. You know, they may make out, but they won't pay no extra $100 for getting the exclusive rights.
I'm okay with that.
Me too.
So, Andy, are you jotting this stuff down?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I am.
It's his phone.
It's right here.
It's messing up the,
Yeah, right? It's right here.
So,
But did you reach a conclusion yet?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the heads. It looks
Yeah.
like,
5's good.
yeah, Jack's okay with that too.
Okay.
So, we're fine with that?
So we're going for 5 free tows
And no
over
change in
the
fee.
raise in the annual contract.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
And like Mayor said, it may not, and it may happen.
It's annoying.
Could be me.
As a
Ken, I'm
business
glad you brought us
person,
back to this. The lot fees, like I said, I spoke to a tower, and he suggested that we include a $35 lot fee. Is council okay with including that?
What would a lot fee be?
A lot and cleanup fee, it's,
For when somebody visits the car or something like that? Is that what it was?
I forgot what it is outlined in our ordinance. Page number. Does anyone else have the ordinance?
Is this right here? Is it right here? The storage? Under storage? Lot, what's the lot?
It was under a different section.
That's the fee when they have to come visit the lot to get something out of the car.
I think so.
Mr. Council President, if I may, the existing ordinance provides that the owner of the vehicle has an opportunity to go to his or her vehicle to take things out that may be of a personal nature, and that's included in the cost. And the ordinance already includes that subsequent requests for visits will incur an additional fee, or if it's an insurance company and they're going to ask the tower to do something to the vehicle to give them access to the vehicle, that they may charge. All of that is in the ordinance. As I understand, traditionally what a lot fee is just another way of adding to the cost of the towing without any additional service being provided.
No, I disagree.
I've been doing this for a long time.
I don't care.
Someone,
Excuse me,
You've been doing it wrong for a long time.
Mr. President.
Ken.
Then someone define what a lot fee is.
Well, they're about having...
If you go in to pull something out of your car, or the insurance company goes in to take pictures and stuff, these business owners just don't, because it's a controlled impound lot, you can't just let somebody randomly walk around in there. You have to have an employee go back there with them. And sometimes you have to jockey cars around to get access to it or whatever. So you are actually taking an employee out of your normal workforce to accompany one of these individuals back into the lot to access their vehicle. So an employee that you're paying an hourly salary to is now back in the lot doing things in the lot, the storage lot, instead of doing things that you normally have them doing within the garage or within the facility that they would be doing in their day-to-day duties.
And that's already in the ordinance, other than the first visit by the owner of the vehicle to get something out of the vehicle. That's what some towers want to charge as a lot fee. So not only do you charge your daily rate for storage and the towing fee, but if on the same day that it's towed, if the owner wants to go take 5 minutes to get something out of the car, they're going to charge a lot fee. And what for?
And that was another thing that was brought up, and I brought up at the last council meeting. If you've got your wallet or your purse or personal effects in there to grab those real quick, that's one thing. But it's like one tower said, folks go in there and they know that the car's totaled and it's worth nothing, and they go in there and rip out their stereo, their specialized rims and everything else, and everything of value is out of that vehicle now. And they say, you know what, tower, it's your responsibility to get rid of it. I don't care. So there's no leverage there.
Dennis, we're looking for that provision that you're speaking of in the ordinance.
It's in there, I don't have it in front of
I
me.
know, I'm trying to find it in the fee section.
It was also suggested a $35 cleanup fee.
The ordinance also provides that a simple sweep is a part of the tow. If materials need to be used, such as materials bags to dry things, that the cost of those materials can be charged. That's already in the ordinance. And if it's a arguably substantial cleanup, that can be charged as well. That's already in the ordinance.
That's in that section we were looking at, which is 170-17C. The tower may charge the...
Yeah, I just would like to avoid a situation where there's an automatic charge of a lot fee and there's an automatic charge of a cleanup fee, notwithstanding how insignificant the 5-minute visit to a vehicle or the broom sweeping of a few pieces of car is. Just to let you know, I've seen bills from the past prior to the ordinance being in effect, and I've seen bills for towing, in the $500, $600, $700, $800 range when you include all of these additional fees and administrative fees and check fees and fees for anything and everything. So $150 tow, ends up being an $800 tow.
Can you do me a favor? Look for a lot fee in that, because I couldn't find one.
Mr. Gonzalez, on the cleanup, if there's like an exceptional cleanup on the road, the language says that there may be a charge for materials used in the cleanup of motor vehicle fluids. I assume that's what you were referring to. I don't think that's regulated, though.
And there's no fee in the ordinance.
Well, it would just be, I guess, the cost of the whatever they use.
Yeah, the cost of the materials can be added to the bill. If there's it also provides that if there's any extraordinary work that needs to be done by an employee, that can be charged as well. I just don't think there should be $600 or $700 or $800 tow bills, which I've seen.
I don't think anyone from council would like that either.
Well, the problem is that you end up putting language that broad in there, and you can end up with bills like that. I've even seen a situation where an insurance company complained about an $800 bill for all of the things that were put in the invoice.
Would council like to add the $35 cleanup fee? Doesn't sound like it.
For liquid, I would have no objection to that, if we put liquid.
For what?
It is in there for liquid? Okay.
Yeah, you just said that.
The tower may charge the owner-operator for materials used in the cleanup of motor vehicle fluids.
Okay. Because antifreeze is real slick.
The
You don't want that on the road.
the lightweight winching right now is set at 75. It was suggested that we increase it from 75 to 95. Would council like to see an increase?
Which one was that one? I'm sorry.
It's for the
178 to 18?
it's for the lightweight winching services, which are not associated with towing a vehicle.
Going from what? From 85, you said?
From 75 to 95.
To 90. I think 85. Let me see that.
Yeah, that's what they're asking to add. It's not in there.
85.
Just make it,
Yeah, I thought that I thought it was 85 that we
We,
discussed
Jason.
last week, wasn't it? I mean, that's what...
thought we had compromised 85
I thought so
on
too.
the winching.
B.
I thought we compromised